It begins on a cold, restless spring night in Columbus, Ohio, a night that felt ordinary to everyone who lived it. Except for one man who would never see another sunrise. 27-year-old medical student Brian Shaffer had just finished one of the most exhausting weeks of his life. Final exams were over. Stress was slipping off his shoulders. He finally had room to breathe. Room to relax. And room to try to feel normal again. But Brian wasn't just dealing with school. He was still carrying a grief heavier than any coursework. Just weeks earlier, he had lost his mother. She was his anchor, his supporter, his calm place. Her absence left a quiet ache inside him. An ache he didn't always talk about. Still, he pushed forward. He leaned on his girlfriend, Alexis, a woman he planned to propose to. He leaned on his father, on friends, on routine. And so, on the night of March 31st, he did something simple. He allowed himself to go out, to unwind, to reclaim a little joy. He met his father for dinner first. The conversation was normal, warm. Nothing in Brian's voice suggested fear, anxiety, or plans to disappear. If there were shadows in his mind, he hid them well. Later, Brian met his friend Clint. They planned a small bar crawl, a few drinks here and there, nothing extreme. Just two friends celebrating the end of exams. Their last stop of the night was the Ugly Tuna Saloona, a bar popular among Ohio State University students. Bright lights, loud music. Crowds moving like slow waves. Security footage shows Brian and Clint riding the escalator up to the bar. Brian steps inside. He looks relaxed. He looks like any other young man out with friends. Inside the bar, Brian laughs with strangers, talks to classmates, and moves from spot to spot with easy energy. There is no hint of danger. No sign of distress. Nothing that would make anyone look twice. But as the night thins out, somewhere between the music fading and the lights turning on, Brian Shaffer vanishes. When the bar prepares to close, people begin spilling out into the night. Clint and another friend look around for Brian. They assume he wandered off to talk to someone, or slipped away to grab some air, or stepped into the hallway outside. But minutes pass. Clint searches inside, then outside, then back inside. No sign of him. In the confusion of closing time, it feels inconvenient, not alarming. They assume he left early. They assume he went home. But the next morning, there is no text, no call, no message to Alexis, no post, no sign of life. Hours pass. Then a day. Then worry begins to claw at everyone who knows him. By Monday morning, when Brian fails to meet Alexis at the airport for a long-planned vacation to Miami, the truth settles in. Something is very, very wrong. And whatever happened began in those final silent minutes inside the Ugly Tuna Saloona, a moment caught by cameras, and yet somehow impossible to see. Detectives start with the obvious first step. They pull the surveillance footage. They expect to see Brian walking out of the bar. They expect something simple, something explainable. A clue, a direction. But the footage becomes the center of the entire mystery. The camera captures Brian walking into the bar. His striped button-down, his green shirt underneath, his familiar posture, clear and unmistakable. He enters. He moves through the space. He's seen again inside, alive, well, normal. But then, nothing. He never appears walking out. Dozens of people exit the bar in the early morning rush. Every single one is seen clearly. Every face is identifiable. There are no blind spots. No shadows large enough to hide a person. No corner unmonitored. And yet, Brian does not walk out the front entrance. Not once. Not even in disguise. Investigators examine the footage frame by frame. Then they slow it down. Then they enlarge it. They analyze every person for similarities. Height, build, gait. None match him. The only other possible way out is a back door under construction. A messy, dangerous area filled with equipment. Dimly lit, difficult to navigate. A path no one would take casually. If Brian used that exit, he would have had to cross uneven flooring, squeeze between construction materials, and push through an unsecured door leading to a poorly lit alley. Search teams combed that area for days. Every inch, every dumpster, every drop-off point, every rooftop and hidden gap nearby. There is no trace of him, no clothing, no blood, no footprints on disturbed dust. Nothing indicating he even approached that zone. With no physical evidence, theories begin to swirl. Some believe he left intentionally. That grief had carved a quiet space inside him, one so deep he chose to disappear. but detectives find no signs of preparation. His bank account sits untouched. His apartment is undisturbed. His passport remains at home. His car is exactly where he left it. Nothing suggests a man planning to escape his life. Others believe something darker happened inside the bar, something removed from the eyes of cameras. But this theory also has problems. The bar wasn't enormous. It wasn't a maze. And on a busy night, it would be almost impossible for foul play to unfold without someone seeing or hearing something. Investigators interview almost everyone who was there. Friends, patrons, employees. Nearly everyone agrees to polygraph testing, except Clint, the friend who was with Brian most of the night. He declines the test. He hires a lawyer. He states he's innocent, but refuses to participate further. His silence becomes one of the most debated elements of the case. Some believe he knows something. Others believe he simply feared being blamed. Meanwhile, a new layer of fear develops. For months, Brian's phone goes straight to voicemail, until one night it rings. A real ring. A live connection. The phone pings a tower 14 miles away. Investigators dismiss it as a routing glitch, a ghost signal. But to the people who loved Brian most, that brief moment feels like a heartbeat in the dark. A flicker of hope. Or something far more chilling. Time begins to stretch. Days turn into weeks. Weeks turn into years. And what was once a frantic search transforms into a lingering ache without answers. Brian's father becomes the most relentless seeker of truth. Every lead, every rumor, every possible trail, he follows them all. He does interviews, asks questions, and pleads for information. He never loses hope, even as tips fade away, and the case grows colder. But in 2008, tragedy strikes again. Brian's father dies in a sudden accident. A man who spent years searching for his son leaves the world without finding him, without closure, without even knowing if Brian was alive or dead. Shortly after his obituary is posted online, something strange happens. Among the normal condolences, a message appears from an anonymous user. It references Brian and the beach location in the U.S. Virgin Islands, a place where people sometimes go to disappear. Investigators trace the message. It came from a public computer. It was routed through multiple proxies. There's no way to confirm if it's a real tip, or nothing more than a cruel hoax. Nothing comes from it. Another dead end. Over the years, people report potential sightings in Michigan, in Puerto Rico, in Mexico, but none can be verified. None hold up under investigation. None bring Brian any closer. His disappearance becomes a haunting anomaly. People don't just vanish, not in a bar full of cameras, not with dozens of witnesses, not without someone noticing something. Yet that is exactly what happened. Some believe Brian suffered a sudden injury or medical emergency and ended up in a hidden space of the building. But extensive searches, even years later, never uncover remains. Others believe he fled voluntarily, carrying grief so deep he couldn't look anyone in the eye. But psychologists reviewing the case find little support for this theory. And then there's the darkest possibility, that someone in the bar saw him last. Someone who never spoke. Someone the cameras couldn't see because they were standing just outside the frame. What happened to Brian Shaffer in those final minutes is a question that feels suspended in time, untouched, unanswerable. A moment frozen on grainy security footage. A young man in a striped shirt stepping through a doorway, laughing, relaxed, alive, and then simply gone. Not one trace. Not one confirmed lead. Not one answer that fits all the evidence. Just a story that lingers in the empty spaces, in the unanswered phone calls, in the shadows of a bar that could never explain how a man walked into the night and left behind nothing. This is Dark True Crime Archives, where shadows linger, and some stories never find their way back into the light.